जाओ साहब, बॉम्बे का सेटिंग होने वाला, अमेरिका को पैसा चाहिए इधर आओ, जापान को पैसा चाहिए इधर आओ, बॉम्बे का सेटिंग होने वाला.
In fact, here, since you brought up Dharavi, I would ask you to take stands on a couple of things. One thing I really would like to know your stand on is on Dharavi and the slum rehabilitation there. I mean, in fact, Dharavi is actually a place few people know about. People think of it as a slum, but even the area-wise profitability, even the income tax, I think amounts to 7 or 8,000 crores just from that slum. But what is your stand where the slum rehabilitation of Dharavi that is happening today, even as we speak, is concerned?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that the conditions in Dharavi are really awful,
right?
And the conditions are awful because the state has provided no infrastructure facilities, right, municipal facilities, and so I think what planners and bureaucrats should do is to look at what people have actually done,
right,
and learn from the urban planning on the ground.
The residents on the ground and the ad hoc urban planning carry on, right?
Because that reflects their desires,
right,
how they live their lives. For example, the connection between work and life.
Right.
You can see that in this in the neighborhood. So rather than urban planners coming and saying, "Oh, this place is terrible, right, and we should just demolish it and have slum rehabilitation," right, you should actually learn from the ground up, yeah, and provide facilities. I'm not, right, saying that I don't want to romanticize,
right, and say they'll do everything.
Yeah, or that what exists is good. No, what exists is not good because under terrible, right, conditions, right, they have, right, done this. So you should provide them facilities. You should provide, for example, credit facilities, right, so people can run their businesses. Right. You should provide education. You should provide all the infrastructure facilities, right, that they should have. What you shouldn't do is to come and say, well, we will rehabilitate them in these towers, because what happens really is each family will get 200 square feet, right, or something, right, and then over a period of time they will sell those, right, to others, and these will be converted into 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom flats.
And I feel that the worst thing about the government's approach is that they're treating Dharavi as a residential area, yeah, which is complete rubbish, because it's actually a place of work, yeah, which in Bombay is extremely important, because Bombay is the city of work. And while it's okay to build houses and put people in there, even if they do that, as they say they are doing, what about the work that these people are doing?
Yeah,
and what you said rightly, especially the point about loans, about getting credit. These people don't have credit. All their businesses, these businesses that generate so much of revenue, that feed so many industries throughout Bombay and India, are all actually illegitimate businesses.
Right.
So don't you think, yeah, that those businesses, there should be a step towards looking at the legitimizing of those businesses, giving them proper credit so that they don't have to rely on underworld loan sharks?
Yeah. I mean, I say in the book that Dharavi is pure free enterprise.
Exactly. Absolute. That's laissez-faire for you,
yeah,
right?
It's and it's pure Mumbai,
right,
where people have created something out of nothing.
Right. I remember. Right.
It's their dynamism that makes Dharavi Dharavi.
Right.
And one's normal image of a slum is a place of squalor and depression and so on. Right. Dharavi is alive.
Right.
There's the energy is kind of pulsating on, right, the street, and so what you should do is actually run with it, right, flow with it, and then provide them with credit facilities and other kind of infrastructure facilities that enables them to run their businesses better and get better returns, and wages get better and so on. If you think of it as a blight, right, that has to be removed, right, you will kill, right, the dynamism that makes Dharavi Dharavi.
Right. Yeah, and you spoke about the milllands, and I want to come to that. But before that, there are a few other things that I would like to know your stance on. The first of them, very predictably, being the Shiv Sena, and now the Shiv Sena's prodigy, which is Raj Thackeray and his MNS, their stand on migrants, their stand on reservation for Maharashtrians. What is your stand on that? What do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, if the Shiv Sena and MNS had their way, right, Bombay wouldn't be Bombay.
Right.
And it gives me some comfort that they haven't succeeded entirely.
Right. Despite all the shouting and beating up.
All the shouting,
killing, yeah,
because Bombay owes its dynamism to its status as a migrant city. And although, Maharashtrians may be 40% of the population, but even those Maharashtrians, many of them are migrants themselves from Maharashtra. So the historic sort of status and experience of Bombay is that it is a city that is dynamic, that is energetic, because migrants come and make something out of nothing. So obviously, I think the disconcerting thing is that the government, even the Congress, is unwilling, afraid, or maybe complicit with this anti-immigrant rhetoric. I mean, the recent example was when Rohinton Mistri's book was withdrawn from the university curriculum. The government just folded. The Vice Chancellor just folded. So, I mean, they have to be, brought to account and say, no, there are certain fundamental rights of citizens involved here.
What do you feel the coolies, the fishermen in Bombay, the coastal fishermen, who are called the actual original inhabitants of Bombay, as a historian, what do you feel they think about this? What have you...
Well, I mean, coolies are, divided. Many of them are, supporters of...
I can expect them to be. Are there some other voices from in there as well?
Yeah, I mean, there are, because, there are coolies and there are people who see themselves as original inhabitants of Bombay. For example, people who are defined as East Indian Christians, who are different from Goan Christians, and they were kind of original inhabitants of the land and then converted to Christianity. They don't want any truck with this Shiv Sena kind of nativism.
Sons of the soil thing.
Yeah, because they believe that, Bombay actually grew and became what it is by being open, by drawing in people from, Gujarat, from UP, from, all over India and beyond. So the trouble is that, of course, the Shiv Sena voice, because it's a very militant party, and MNS now, trying to even be more militant than Shiv Sena, that it intimidates the others, and the opposition is never organized enough to mount a kind of challenge to Sena.
Drawing on a history of about 30 years back, let me ask you a political question, which is, if Bala Saheb Thackeray passes away, as every human being does have to pass away, then where do you think the future of Maharashtra politics will go? Do you think the Shiv Sena and MNS will merge into one, and there will be this now divided voice for now divisive regional voice will become a very strong regional voice, and which will threaten Mumbai's cosmopolitan fabric in that sense?
What is really characteristic about both the Senas is that they represent a certain kind of politics, which I call in the book populism. And normally when people say populism, you kind of dismiss it, that it's not proper politics. But actually it is a very significant political movement, which is also based on the idea of the leader. That populist movement without the leader,
the figurehead,
will fritter away. And Shiv Sena today is not what it used to be when Bal Thackeray was in full flow. So let's say if the two come together as a populist movement, and let's say Raj Thackeray emerges as the new leader, it will be a very powerful force in Bombay. But I think the trend in Bombay's politics is away from that kind of supremacy of populism. It will be a significant force, but I don't see it becoming a dominant force. Someone that will exercise its influence over the entire
Maharashtra
city.
politics, and therefore the politics of the city as well.
So I don't see that happening, as a kind of a dominant force. But it will always remain, now as a kind of a shadow, and as a kind of intimidating shadow, because even people who do not agree with the Sena are afraid to speak out. because Sena's politics is based on a politics of violence and intimidation. I mean, that is characteristic of its populism. In one way, you can think of the kind of Sena's influence in Bombay as both symptomatic of what kind of a city it is, and symptomatic of Sena's inherent sort of weakness. Because if you think of cities like Calcutta or Madras or Chennai, I mean, these are of course great big cities, but these cities are also very firmly located in their regional geography.
That's very true.
Yeah. So you don't ever have the need for a Shiv Sena.
For instance, in Calcutta, one wouldn't imagine people going and saying, "Okay, write your shop name in Bengali," because they do so anyway.
Yeah.
Or say, "Let's reserve so many posts," because anyway, 70% of them are Bengalis. People there, right?
So because they are the kind of cities that they are, this issue of Sena doesn't arise. In Bombay, precisely because it is not a Maharashtrian city, that you get something like Sena emerging saying, no, we have to make it a Maharashtra. So in a way, it reflects the fact that the Sena cannot achieve its goals. So that's a good thing. And on the other hand, the influence of the Sena in Bombay is, really, it casts a shadow.